And Bentley at the 1. Bentley has an angle, and he's got just the kicker to beat. Bentley at the 30, the 25, the 15, a 99-yard kickoff return.
Over the top. Oh, stuffed by Bertrand. Yikes.
Now it's time for Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini sports every Monday at 6. Only on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1 FM.
Joey Gelman, host, Chicago, Illinois.
Steve Bourbon, co-host, St. Charles, Illinois.
Sam Sherman, co-host, Wilmette, Illinois.
Jeff Omer, social media guru, Naperville, Illinois.
Torrance Surreal, producer, Shy City, baby.
Welcome into Illini Drive. This is your home on the way home for Illini Sports every Monday at 6. Remember, follow the show on Twitter at Illini Drive, and for all other sports news, you can do that, as well as follow the Daily Illini at the Daily Illini at DI_sports. Visit the website, dailyillini.com. I'm Joey Gelman, and we're here with a sparse crew today. We got Torrance Sorrell, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The man behind the glass here, producing, social media-ing. Steve Bourbon is here.
Yeah.
Urbana Public Television is here. But that's about it.
You're here.
I'm here.
Of course Joey's here.
It is a ghost town here, the Illini Media Company building. Everyone getting out for the holidays early and with a lot of happenings around campus here and finals for many of the students in and around U of I. A lot of things shut down, but we demanded to stay on one more week.
Yeah, I know you had to really pull some strings for that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Calling some favors,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Do you want to come on? Sure. All right.
Yeah.
That's basically how that went down.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. Show must go on, man.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
So as a reminder, this is our last show for a while. We'll get you the specific date when we're coming back around because our schedule coincides with the U of I winter break schedule. It's sometime in January, I believe, the third week of January or so. Should be in and around when we'll be back on the air. So we're going to try to give you as much as we can today in the hour that we have. Rundown for you. Start off with Illinois basketball talk. That's kind of been the highlight of the weekend, and since we were last on the air, or low light, if you will.
Yeah.
Then we're going to switch gears, talk some baseball winter meetings, but some craziness out in San Diego there. So we're going to call in our good friend Jamal Collier, who's writer for MLB.com. He'll give us his take on the winter meetings and the Cubs and Sox moves as well. And then Sam Sherman, as you can tell by the lack of boisterous energy in the corner, is home, but he will call in for the last segment here because him and Steve have to have a nice debate on Johnny football.
Johnny Manziel.
The money sign.
Yeah. It was a little rough for him this weekend, too.
So even though we're kind of shorthanded in studio, we'll definitely get some help from some friends in and around the show. So starting with Illinois basketball, losers to Oregon, 77-70, and before that, lost to Villanova. So remember, we were on earlier last week. We were talking to Mark Tupper and even Dave Wisnowski and others just about this Illinois team ranked in the top 25. Then, you know, had a loss to Miami, not the end of the world. You still had high hopes for this team against Villanova, and especially against a team like Oregon. And Illinois drops both of them in a tough spot here. Probably will be unranked when they haven't ranked. Okay.
Yeah.
So just a difficult spot here, and I guess we can just maybe start a little bit with Villanova. I mean, what kind of was the takeaway from that one?
I think Villanova was about as good as I thought they were. I mean, they looked like a team that was ranked 7th. They had, really balanced scoring. Their big guy inside, I don't remember his name. It was like Onawaku or something. I totally butchered that. But, I mean, he was skilled in the post, which is, rare to see, I guess. But, I mean, the theme for these past 2 games is it's kind of been one guy scoring. Against Villanova, it was Malcolm Hill. He dropped 20. Then against Oregon, Rayvonte Rice had 29. No one else has really provided scoring, and some of the guys that we hope would step up, Cosby, Starks, none even, really have not been effective. We saw against Oregon, they made a change to the starting lineup. They started none. They sat down Cosby. Cosby still played dreadfully. I think he was 1 of 9 from the field. I mean, his confidence looks shot. His jumper is so flat right now. So, I mean, it goes back to kind of where we were last year, where it's, you've got Rayvonte Rice. You know that. Outside of that, who knows who's going to show up on any given night.
Right, that's why it's tough. I mean, I remember we talked about earlier in the year the fact that that wouldn't be the case this year.
Yeah.
In the fact that you have so much depth on this team, even if it doesn't maybe perform to the level you thought it would in terms of, shooting lights out, when we've seen a few times, but not very many this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, you thought the one-man show was over because you had a lot of complementary pieces. And it sadly, in games against big-time opponents such as, Villanova, it didn't show up there. And then even against a team like Oregon, who isn't ranked, still a very formidable opponent, same thing happened there. Everyone went quiet except for Ronte Rice.
Yeah, well, that Oregon game, that's not a good loss.
No.
I don't think they're that good. They lost to Ole Miss at home. I mean, that's not a good loss.
They lost to Michigan, too, and you know how Michigan...
Well, Michigan's kind of off a cliff right now. Yeah.
And I still think choosing to watch... What was it last week? Choosing to watch Michigan and all their losses?
Yeah.
For the would you rather?
Being a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
For their recent losses.
And more Brady Hoke.
And more Brady Hoke. Always more Brady Hoke. But
it's like they're running... It's like more Brady Hoke or more Tim Beckman. I don't know what you'd rather have.
Tim Beckman.
All right.
At least he doesn't leave his players in when they're concussed.
Oh, true. He actually has morals.
Yeah.
I'm still ready to sign up for that Tim Beckman class. That
Tim
5-hour
Beckman
lecture.
PowerPoint tutorial.
Oh, yeah.
Worth 2 credit hours.
It should be more than 2. As long as that's a whole semester's worth of grade.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't know if people caught that last week. It wasn't just him giving like a PowerPoint presentation on like graduation and like this is where your future will be, this is what your job will be. It's teaching people how to use PowerPoint on PowerPoint.
Right.
That's brutal.
I think he would spice it up. He'd get into it,
As long as they make cool wristbands, like the Livestrong kind of things.
PPT.
Yeah.
Power Post Train. I don't know. We'll come up with an acronym by the end.
Yeah,
of the show.
but an extra letter that doesn't exist has to be in the title as well, like WINT.
WINT. Everybody win today.
Whatever is necessary today.
Yeah. I mean, Illinois basketball, though.
Not winting.
They are not winting. Thank goodness Hampton is coming to State Farm Center on Wednesday because they need something just to get back in their groove. I mean, some of these guys, I know Starks hasn't taken too many shots recently, but he's been not great. I mean, then Cosby is so far in his own head right now. I mean, he can't make anything. Well, we saw LeBron Black earlier in the year, but now it seems like he's, his foul rate is kind of skyrocketing, which is to be expected from a freshman post player. That's, to be expected. But
with Nana usually pretty foul susceptible, that's not a good combo to have when you got your two big guys like that getting in trouble.
Yeah,
early.
you also see in Maverick Morgan pretty much the second center off the bench now. He's coming in before LeBron now.
Yeah, well, LeBron plays the 4. So, but yeah, earlier in the year it was Colbert was the second center. Now it's kind of been Morgan. I don't know. There's kind of an interesting dynamic. I'm not sure how I really feel about either of them, but Colbert I feel like has a higher ceiling, but he's just so raw and doesn't really bring you much of anything. I guess Morgan.
Mav is more finesse to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say he was more kind of brute strength and just like runs people over.
Think he's brute?
He's like thick, Colbert. You look at his legs. They're
like
gonna
break.
He's on pogo sticks.
Like too thick.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like ready to jump off the cliff here and be like, oh, the season's over.
No.
Fire,
Still
gross,
real.
whatever.
Still real.
Like they've had one loss they shouldn't have, right? I mean, Oregon they should have beaten.
Do you win that game if you're at State Farm, though? I mean, the UC was a Illini heavy. I mean, Torrance and I were both there, and it was electric, but still, it's a different place than home.
I don't think it's different. I think if anything, it would help Illinois because you're in Chicago, you're in the United Center. How many guys are from Chicago on this team?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like they would want to play up to that moment, So I don't know. I don't think that was an issue at all.
I also feel like you have to give Oregon credit too. This is also the same Oregon team that beat them last year. I mean, they beat them back in Portland when they played them in
At the Rose Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gross was saying during the press conference too that in his opinion, this was probably the best he ever seen the Oregon team play. Like I really don't think it was so much for Illini mistakes because Gross did said the Illini played a heck of a game. It was just Oregon played their best game against them because you seen Oregon early in the season losing to, which said VCU losing to teams like Michigan, but they came out to play. And then, you have a freshman, a raw freshman talent, and Dylan Brooks, number 24 for Oregon, had a monster game.
Yeah.
And pretty much as a freshman, that's huge coming in, playing a Big Ten team that's obviously Big Ten basketball is pretty much one of the toughest conferences. So you got to imagine how big that guy's confidence is after that game.
I mean, yeah, Brooks and Rice were that was fun to see.
Yeah, battle of the 24s.
Yeah, going at it down the stretch. But I mean, Illinois, yeah, they were right there. You know, Joey, you and I were talking about this before. I mean, they were they were down by 3 with about 50 seconds left, and Gross chose not to foul, play defense. Ultimately, Oregon gets the basket, and that essentially ends the game. But I mean, if they're able to get a stop, they've got a chance. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bet on Rayvonte for a 3 the way he was shooting it. So I mean, they were right there. I mean, it's not like the season's over. I still think they're going to make the tournament. But you know, they just need to make sure this doesn't snowball, because we've seen in recent years, you know, they've kind of gotten into that swoon, you know, right around January, early February, where, you know, everyone forgets how to shoot. You know, they lose to teams that they shouldn't, and then that kind of torpedoes their season going into March. So I mean, you know, get back, beat the snot out of Hampton on Wednesday, play a struggling Missouri team in St. Louis. You know, it's a good win over a rival if you can beat them, and then kind of get your mojo back going forward.
Yeah, because really you have Hampton, you have Mizzou, which we can talk about as well for bragging rights. Then you have Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
And then Big Ten play.
Powerhouse.
Right, but then Big Ten plays right after that. So you got to get some of these wins in your back pocket here to give you at least some momentum going into Big Ten play.
Well, I don't know if it's – I think the wins will come, but more what I'm worried about is just how guys are playing. Like, I think, you know, it's really come down to the transfers, Starks and Cosby. And
it's been tough.
They have been brutal recently. I think they need to show something more. Cosby just needs to, you know, hit a shot or something, because he was aggressive against Oregon. Like, I give him credit. He was like going to the basket. He was shooting aggressively, shooting with confidence. It looks all screwed up, and his motion was, you know, a little bit wacky to begin with, and now he's all over the place. But I don't know. I think they're going to need, whether it's him or none coming off the bench, whoever it may be, someone coming off the bench to score and just lighten the scoring load for Rayvonte.
They had none start that game too.
Yeah.
First time. So
yeah.
That was pretty interesting.
I mean, but I hear people complaining on Twitter or whatever. It's like, oh, why is Cosby in the game? It's like, well, who else do you have to play the wing?
Right.
You know, you've got Nunn, Rice, Hill's playing the 4, unless you want to slide him over to the 3. But I mean, he's been playing at the 4. I mean, so and then it's Cosby. So it's got to be those 3 guys right there. They've got to have, you know, at least 2 of them going pretty much every game. We haven't seen that consistency yet.
Latulip can play the 2.
Oh, Latulip can play the 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see how that works.
And then with Starks too, it's just the issue. I mean, besides you comparing him to me last week in my height,
that was a compliment to you.
True. But
Inadvertently.
Thank you. But no, just that's the issue. Okay, Starks isn't playing very well, and then what do you got behind him? I mean, you have Jalen Tate.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, still not a scoring option is
Right.
what you're looking for.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they are like Nana. I think is probably the best defensive center in the Big Ten. Like,
Right.
I think he will be first team All Big Ten defensive wise, but he's not going to score 13 points a game for you.
No.
He'll get 8, like sure, but I mean, and Tate, you don't even have to guard him. I mean, he's hit. He had a nice like pull up jumper.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I've seen out of him. But I mean, he's not looking to score. He's looking to distribute. So, I mean, it's just like, again, where's your scoring coming from? Well, it's Rayvonte Rice playing 37 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And we're back to square one.
And, well, you also had the whole Simeon boys basketball team at the game there. That was kind of nice to see as well.
They were sitting right behind Gross's bench.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty interesting to see. Do you think this game may affect as far as recruiting for those guys? I mean, a lot of those guys didn't really look so impressed from what I've seen in the press.
Yeah, but you already got Nunn and Tate there, and with DJ Williams in the bag as well. It's kind of just a well-rounded not partnership, I guess the wrong word, but it's just relationship.
There's a good connection there.
Yeah. Which is necessary for this program moving forward. And so I think when you probably have the chance, even if you lose, to showcase your program on a storied, arena and a storied floor where, Jordan plays and the whole city of Chicago knows what that kind of place is, I think you have to take advantage of it.
Well, and plus just getting your coaches out there. I mean, get Gross in a room with anyone, and I feel like he owns it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think these deals that they've had, playing at NBA arenas, I think is great. They played Auburn at the UC a couple years ago. I really like that. I think that was a great move scheduling-wise. I mean, it gets your Chicago fan base into it. I mean, like you said, it was a great atmosphere. So I really like the deal, and I hope they keep going with it. regardless of, the wins and losses in those games are pretty inconsequential, but I think that for the bigger picture, it's a positive overall.
Yeah. And it allowed him to stay in Chicago. I think he went to the Morgan Park game over the weekend as well, which just helps with even more and more recruiting. He's doesn't have Simeon in his back pocket, but if you have a relationship with Simeon, you can have a relationship really with almost any of those schools in the city.
That's the team you want to be in
Right.
on. They're a factory at this point, seems like.
Isn't that weird to think about? Like, you think of different things as factories of talent, but like when you think of like development, you don't think of a high school.
Right, because it's not like they recruit.
Right.
Well, maybe they do.
Yeah,
but,
well, we won't tell. But I guess because, you don't get to choose your players coming into high school. Obviously, a lot of them maybe gravitate towards that school, whether if you move for basketball.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept because it's almost like you're starting recruiting in middle school already there.
You will be surprised.
Yeah.
Some guys are like 12 years old, 6'5".
Oh, you want to get lost on YouTube? There's all these, best 11-year-old in the country.
Yeah.
It's like some 4'2" kid
Yeah.
with like insane hands.
I worked a basketball clinic, I think it was 2 years ago, through like High Five Sports in the city of Chicago, partnered with like Junior NBA or whatever. And this kid's like doing the drills. Me, I can't play sports very well, so I hand the ball off or take pictures or whatever. I help.
Okay.
I don't demonstrate. I help. And they go, watch this kid. I go, all right. And he was like, great player. He goes, best point guard on the west side of Chicago. I go, how old is he? 12. Like, wow, how can you judge him at 12 years old? It's amazing.
It's incredible.
I'm bummed though because I'm blanking on his name, and probably now he's a top recruit that I can't think of.
Yeah, you totally could have name dropped him.
But it's amazing. Think about like with Jalen Tate, for example. Like grade school for him wise, and right before high school was in Lincoln Park, and then went to De La Salle, and then went to Simeon, all in a move. Well, it may not all be, but on paper, it looks like all in a move towards a better path for basketball, and that's just interesting to me that students can take that into their control, especially going into high school, to kind of make that track. Because if he was at Francis W. Parker, which is actually my alma mater as well.
Okay.
So I can say I'm cool because Jalen Tate went there too. But like the fact that, okay, if he sticks at that school, education is a priority, and then basketball could come second, maybe third, but that track isn't there. But when you change to suddenly going from Parker, where your graduating class is 80 kids, to now going to De La Salle, and then Simeon, the upper echelon of Chicago basketball, now he's a point guard in Illinois. That's a big difference.
Do you think about planning for your future? And, for us that never had athletic ability, it was
sadly,
let's try and get into, our parents get you into great schools, to prepare you for college. Well, if you're an elite athlete, get yourself in the best high school program or AAU program and set you up with the people that you need to talk to get yourself out there and get recruited. And, it worked out for him.
It's amazing.
Just if you could learn to shoot a little bit.
Well, that too.
So
6:20 already. Look at that. Block one done. We're going to head to a break here as we, keep discussing off the air of our inner corrupt high school tracks that we all took to get to where we are today. We're going to talk to Jamal Collier next, talk a little baseball, winter meetings, get you some warm-weathered thoughts on what has been just a dreary day. Wherever you're in the area, you know what I'm talking about, because it is miserable and should wreak havoc for the Bears tonight as well up north in Chicago. You're listening to Illini Drive on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.
You're listening to Illini Drive.
So we know you want to talk Illinois football.
That's what. It's a trap, Jamal. That's why we have you on.
Hey, they're coming off a win here, and I'm sure you guys have already noted that they might not lose again.
Welcome back into Illini Drive. This is your home on the way home for Illini Sports every Monday at 6. As I just break the button there for whatever we did. And we welcome in Jamal Collier. He is a now fancy writer for MLB.com. He's left us in the dust. Former host of Illini Drive. We wanted to talk a little baseball with you. So, Jamal, how are you?
I'm doing fancy, apparently. How are you doing?
Doing good. So we're shorthanded here in the studio today, so we wanted to make sure we had an extra body with you who knows the show so well.
Who's taking a day off?
Sam Sherman and Jeff Omer and all of Illini Media.
Jesus Christ. That doesn't surprise me one bit.
I should be taking a day off. I think I've earned it.
Yeah.
It's just us.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
us.
all right. You guys are working hard. You guys are dedicated, committed.
Except no one knows it because no one can see us.
Exactly.
So starting off here, just looking at the meetings in general, is this one of the crazier winter meetings in recent memory for you? I feel like it is for me, just the flurry, no matter the Chicago stuff, which we'll get to, but just the flurry of moves we've seen in the short weekends. Pretty incredible.
It's funny, actually, heading into these winter meetings, kind of the popular thing was about just how, winter meetings would be a necessity because you get all the general managers in the same place for the first time, or not the first time, but just a chance for them all to kind of move freely about the lobby and those things. And that, obviously, with the age we're in now, that's not necessary because you can just send a text message or send a tweet or send an Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you can get to anybody. So, that just made the intermeetings kind of seem more of like a tradition as opposed to anything where something would happen. And, of course, we, like you said, had one of the busier ones in definitely recent memory and definitely one of the crazier ones maybe of all time even.
Dang, that's pretty high praise of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like
it sounds like you're on first
going a little over the top here, but I think it definitely was. 1992's winter meetings, had a lot of just different things. Barry Bonds changed teams. David Cone signed a huge contract with the Yankees. A couple other that I'm forgetting. There's a couple of maybe traditionally bigger names, but the flurry of moves and just kind of the speed that we saw them happen, I think, made this. Definitely, I'd say one of the top handful of winter meetings. It's just as far as insane things.
Now, were you able to make it out there for that, or were you just reporting from your station?
I was not. I was coming in from New York for this. I was not in sunny San Diego enjoying it this time.
But you're good at San Diego. You had your nice fedora that when you were covering the Padres. It was a good look for you.
Exactly. Well, I can wear my fedora here in New York now.
That won't go over nearly as well.
Yeah, that won't go. No, definitely won't.
So, Jamal, I guess, locally here, Chicago, both teams seem like they're making moves. I guess with the Cubs getting Lester and Miguel Montero, obviously, and then Jason Mott today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the White Sox picking up Samardzija, Robertson, Melky Cabrera. I guess kind of break down both of those and who you think is having a better offseason so far.
Yeah, it's been a long time since you can have any excitement in Chicago as far as baseball. It feels like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And both teams, the Cubs were obviously going to be big players coming into the meeting. At least that was what the rumors were, that they were going to go hard after Lester and some other moves. And as everybody was kind of waiting for the Lester piece to fall, the White Sox, of course, surprised everybody and really just took over the winter meetings for that night, and then followed up with the signing of Melky Cabrera just a couple of days ago over the weekend here. So, as far as just both moves, just general reaction to them, I think for the White Sox, they all made them better. They needed help in the bullpen. They addressed that with Robertson. Samardzija is another top-of-the-line starter to go ahead with Chris Sale. And then, Melky Cabrera is a huge upgrade in the outfield. And for the Cubs, obviously they wanted to add the big-time starter with John Lester. And, they went out and put their bid and got him. So I think both moves really, both teams, I should say, really set themselves up to be definitely markedly better in this next season.
So with the Melky Cabrera signing there for the Sox, does that mean Diane Viciedo's days are probably numbered here?
Yeah, which was definitely a good thing. I mean, he had to do something that just really upgraded that position specifically, and both of their corner outfield positions left a little bit to be desired. But yeah, you would assume that Viciedo's probably played his last game, or that he's going to do something different for him to, stay in the major leagues.
Well, yeah, I mean, so with the White Sox, I'm a Sox fan, albeit very lukewarmly, I guess. But I mean, do you think they have a chance at the playoffs here? I mean, with how their pitching sets up, and maybe if someone kind of steps up that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, it's weird. The Sox, like I said, definitely got better, which is the first thing. They still were they won 73 games. I'm trying to think off the top of my head last season. So now they went to probably a not very good team to just improve to a decent team. So are they a great team by any means? No. But one thing the Royals definitely kind of proved with their run last season is you don't have to be a great team, through the regular season. You just kind of have to find a way to get in. And the good thing about the White Sox is that they set up really nicely if they get into the postseason. So you're going to have three really good starters with Quintana, Sale, and Samardzija. You got a really good back end of the bullpen with Zach Duke and Robertson. And you got some superstars in the middle of that lineup, with Jose Abreu, Kieran Gitt, and Adam LaRoche is a nice piece to complement that. Now, the problem is the White Sox division is still going to be pretty good. Detroit's always there. The Royals are there. The rest of the American League is getting better with the AL East. It's going to be definitely improved. You still got probably three teams from the West that look pretty good. So can they contend right now? I'm not sure. I don't love their pitching depth, their starting pitching depth from the back end standpoint. That really they're a team that almost can't withstand an injury right now because they don't have another starter kind of waiting in the wings. At least a couple of reliable starters. They still probably need a second baseman, catcher, kind of weak positions for them. So they still got some holes to fill, but they are just definitely going to be better. So, and I'm willing to call them a contender. It's tough, but they're going to be a better team.
And then looking at the other side of town here with the Cubs, I guess just first off, how genius, I guess, is Theo Epstein here, the fact that you trade Samardzija and Hamill last year to the A's. You get back Addison Russell and McKinney from them for basically now what you're seeing as Samardzija and Hamill as a rental for Billy Beane in the A's. Then you even get Hamill back. I mean, that move on paper couldn't have really worked any better.
Oh, absolutely. Last year and what they've been doing the last couple of years of unloading their starting pitchers and flipping some of these pitchers once they kind of turn around for a year it's really been impressive. And then obviously this offseason could not have went better to a T so far for them. Mm-hmm. The one time they struck out was on trying to get Russell Martin. They end up still getting an improvement in catcher with Miguel Montero. And, Castillo was a very good catcher, but Montero is even a better hitting catcher and is a lot better defensively. And it's going to, the strike that Wellington Castillo probably loses you because he's not a great pitch framer. You're going to still get back from Montero, who's a two-time All-Star. And then they go out, they get the manager that they want, and didn't go so well for Mr. Rick Renteria, but they definitely turned into Joe Madden, and then they get John Lester as well. Like you said, it's really been a perfect offseason so far. You probably couldn't have drawn up any better as they try to make a push forward for them coming into this next year. What is this, year 3 or year 4 of the Theo rebuild plan?
3, I think it's 3.
Yeah, my math is off here, but I think it may be 4.
Okay.
I don't know.
Jeff's gone, so we can't look anything up. We're useless.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just you mentioned the flipping of pitchers and kind of everything working out this year. It just seems like that kind of process is over, and I think that was mentioned a lot today at the John Lester presser. Is just that this idea of flipping everything and trading everything at the deadline. It's now starting to be that compete mode. And, you may not win a division this year, you may not get in, but it seems like the tide is turning for the Cubs. And if it translates, it'll look really good. And having a guy like Lester locked up for a long time will be nice when you got a lot of good team-friendly deals for a lot of your positional players. So it should be fun to watch soon. I just don't know if it'll be ready come April.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it's a lot to ask all those young players to come in and be ready right away to really make an impact, especially on the hitting side. That you may still see some growing pains from some of them. But yes, as you mentioned, the team shouldn't go out and lose 90 or 100 games next year and be in the same spot. It should be a little better. Again, the Cardinals are still really good in that division. The Pirates, I should say, is still really good in that division. So you still got some teams to compete with. So, the World Series odds I know are sky high for the Cubs right now,
crazy.
and I don't think I would jump at that just yet. But what does contending really mean? Does that mean they're going to be one of the top maybe 6 or 7 teams in the National League? I can see that. I can see them having those pieces together. And, like I kind of mentioned a little bit with the White Sox, the Royals kind of prove that, hey, you don't need to be perfect for the entire season, and the Cubs still can obviously make some additions for the rest of this offseason and at the trading deadline. And you just get in that position to kind of get in and see what happens. And I think the Cubs are setting themselves, like you said, to take a huge step forward this next year.
So with both these teams in Chicago, are they done making moves, or I guess is there some other shoes to drop still here as these meetings go on?
Yeah, well, see, the White Sox, I would assume, are done making at least any major moves. Like I said, they still have some holes to shore up. Definitely at second base. They don't really have a starting second baseman right now. But of course, I would have said the White Sox were done making moves before they signed Melky Cabrera, which honestly, that may be the biggest shocker, that they went out and got him, because you had a lot of teams, Seattle, Kansas City, Toronto even, willing to kind of put some money out. And the Sox kind of went and spent. And for a team that is, for the last 8 seasons, I believe it is, has had declining attendance, money has always been a huge thing for them. And as they are going to, they've shown, they've wanted to spend so far, and I'm not sure that'll continue or how much they have left in the bank. But they'll have to find ways, it looks like, to get creative here. As far as the Cubs go, I would, they don't have any more glaring holes, at least things that they've outlined at the beginning of this offseason that they wanted to go get. The big ones were a catcher, a starting pitcher. I could see them still making some moves, but again, I think most of the big moves are done, just in general, probably, in the game. But you can still see these teams probably trying, like I said, get creative and see what else they can do.
And when you brought up something there, spending money, the White Sox, and I guess with no salary cap, I mean, is that, I guess it's not my money, but I guess, is that still a concern? Like, I mean, I just remember, the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers more recently just go out and have these massive payrolls, and there's just no real repercussions. I mean, why not just spend money and see what happens?
Yeah, well, to that you have to direct your question to Jerry Reinsdorf and some of those guys. I mean, the Sox traditionally, I think the right now the payroll sets up to be somewhere around $110 million, just what they round out their roster here. And that's a huge upgrade, like I said, from what it was, just looking at it, it's going to be around $80 million probably the year prior. So they have spent a little more money. And like I said, with the attendance problems that they've had over the last couple of seasons, really over the past decade, that they have always just shown a little bit more of a just kind of reluctance to spend money, I guess. So it'll be interesting. Like I said, there is no salary cap, but certain teams have a limit, and not everybody has the luxuries that the Yankees and the Red Sox kind of afford.
I guess, but you're in Chicago. I feel like a huge market. I know they're second fiddle to the Cubs, but
yeah.
I mean, you got to spend money to make money.
Mets fans are thinking the same thing and saying, "Wait a minute, why are we, 8th in the National League in payroll or whatever they usually are, as opposed to going out and spending money?" It's just kind of the way that some franchises choose to operate. And my argument to that would be that, the spending money has not always worked out. I mean, the Red Sox had the higher payroll last year. Dodgers have had the highest payroll in the game the last couple of years, and that hasn't turned into even a pennant yet. So there's some ways, I think, to get creative without necessarily throwing the bank at some of these free agents that may not warrant it. But that's just kind of, I think, the way the White Sox are going to do their business from now on, or have been doing it just traditionally.
And now, for you as a baseball guy here, how quickly can the season come for you? I mean, the fact with all this movement, and I mean, just the names here. I mean, Matt Kemp traded, Cespedes traded again, which I was even shocked when he was traded the first time around. You got Lester to the Cubs, all these different ones, Sandoval and Ramirez to the Red Sox. I mean, a lot of changeover in the league should make for at least a fun beginning. I feel like you get a lot more fans tuning in early just to see these changes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, hope, at least.
Like you said, it's been such a wild off season already, and this part's still fun for me to get to see all the different things and to see how some of these teams are going to end up stacking up when it comes to next year. I'm from the minute this season ends, I'm counting down to the next season. So I'm the wrong person to ask on that, but you definitely are going to have, like you said, you should have some increase in interest, you would think, coming right into the start of next year with, like I said, with so many different moving parts.
Wake me up in September, Jamal. That's all I have to say.
I'm breaking up on you, or you? What is it?
Wake me up in September. That's
wait.
those 2 months. That's my baseball fandom.
Yeah. But see, you're the same as me. I've been actually trying to watch some more NBA or do something different. Because normally I'm like, well, when the playoffs starts, I'll worry about that. But I will be there on February 15th, whatever it is, when pitchers and catchers report. I'll be the first one excited.
Okay, sounds good.
And any exciting plans for you for the upcoming holidays here? I know we're off. This is our last show, at least for this half of the year. So that means everyone's fun holiday stories when we come back. So anything you're looking forward to, you're going to do?
No, not entirely. I get to go home for a little bit and see my family. Other than that, just kind of relax and hope that we don't get a whole bunch of trades the day after Christmas and on Christmas.
You will, though. I mean, that's like a given.
Yeah, exactly. I know I'm going to try to unplug or try to, put my phone down or something, and then bam, I'm going to get called to action.
And you got to watch the Heart of Dallas Bowl,
nothing
too.
exciting. What's that?
You got to watch the Heart of Dallas Bowl, too, for your fighting.
Well, see, that's exactly why I can't be distracted. Are you guys making it out to Dallas? What's going on with that?
I think there's a group going, but no one in this room is.
No one here, okay.
So, I don't know. Sean Hammond is running that, and they wanted to leave on Christmas and all this and that, and I didn't really want to sign up for that.
Yeah, even that.
I mean,
I wasn't invited, so I see where I stand right now.
They say Christmas is bigger in Texas.
You'll have to just wait until they go to the Rose Bowl.
There you go.
You're waiting a long time, man.
Yeah, don't hold your breath on that wait.
Well, Jamal, we appreciate the time. Thanks for jumping on, talking a little baseball with us. Nice to have some warm weather talk in the middle of December. So thanks for jumping on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jamal.
Thanks, guys. Always fun. Have a great holiday.
You too. That's Jamal Collier. Follow him on Twitter at Jamal Collier, writer for MLB.com, former host of this very show, Illini Drive. So, good baseball talk there. I always like to sneak that in, especially when it's cold and when the Bears are brutal to watch.
Yeah, it's about that point where the Bears are pretty much unwatchable. That was about a month ago.
But hey, you can watch them again because they play tonight at 7:30.
Yeah.
Bears and the Aints.
The Aints, yeah. By the way, what can we just say really quickly that
yes,
there might be like a 10-win team miss the playoff in the NFC.
Yes.
But then, a 7-9 team from the NFC South is going to host.
If
the
they're
first
that
round.
good.
They could be 6-10.
You could be 5-11.
I think the worst it could be is 5-10-1 Carolina.
Oh my God.
But it's an abomination.
But think about the difference between that. You're like Atlanta, you're Carolina, and fighting for that with 5 wins right now for a playoff spot. The Bears at 5 wins are calling for everyone's head, rightfully so.
Yeah, the season's been over for a month for them. Yeah.
So we're going to take a break here. When we come back, Sam Sherman, who's supposed to be here but decided to go home, is going to call in and talk a little Johnny Manziel and NFL. If we can get to some Bears talk, we will. Like to try to get in as well some volleyball talk. Illinois fell this weekend in the Sweet 16, but a good season for them as they fell to Florida and are out of the tournament, but always good to see them in postseason play. A few Illini teams, well, at least the big ones, make it. So they've been a steady one for the last few years, so it's been fun. We'll be right back after this break. You're listening to Illini Drive on Champagne's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.
It's so hard to say goodbye to
Joey Galvin! You're too much. That was great.
Yeah, we've gone 40 minutes, and this is Joey's last show, and we haven't even mentioned it yet.
That's true.
I didn't want to get Torrance emotional yet, but
once the waterworks get going on Torrance, there's no stopping. Yeah. As we mentioned last week, I am off the show after today for the rest of the second half of the year here. I'll be back in August. Don't worry, you're stuck with me again in the fall. But Torrance, Sam, Jeff, and Steve will be taking the reins. They're very trustworthy, I think. I hope.
I don't know. I don't know who gave us this kind of authority.
Sam, are you trustworthy?
I'd like to think so.
Good.
But to be completely honest, probably not.
That's Sam Sherman.
Yeah, it's funny. Thanks for letting me call in and talk some stuff today. But I wanted to say, as you were even as you were talking about it, I hadn't thought about that too. That Joey, this is your last show for quite a while, so I will certainly miss you. I miss you on the show.
That's the only reason I let him talk baseball.
And you were so thoughtful about it being here that you missed it.
Yeah, it was something was, I just kind of get that pull where I needed to, and my voice needed to go over the airways, even if that's over a phone and using some technology to do so. That I just don't understand.
I think you lost all of us on that one. But all right.
We just lost 1,000 listeners.
You're like our mystery celebrity guest that'll call in, like sending me off into the moonlight, even though I'll be back. So I'm not dead.
Yeah.
We're taking a hiatus.
Yeah, everybody's not dying.
Yeah,
it's not you. It's us.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be back in August. Don't worry. And we'll just see what happens there. Maybe Illinois will have won a bowl game. Maybe I'll be taller. I don't know.
Still holding out hope?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
It's been a rough ride.
I still believe in
you. Yeah. Wait. So you're not taller than Ahmad Starks?
Only in the mirror, but I don't think in real life I am.
Well, there you go.
So I know the reason you called because Steve told me right when we walked in the door was Johnny Manziel. So I kind of want to let you two take this debate because you started out with Would You Rather last week and it successful in many ways. So have at it.
Well, okay, I'll preface it, I guess. So Johnny Manziel, Heisman Trophy winner from Texas A&M, made his first start yesterday, was 10 of 18 for 80 yards, 2 picks. The Browns lost 30-0. I know Sam is gloating. I can practically hear him smiling right now. But Sam, I guess, what is your take on Johnny Manziel? I obviously obviously a horrible performance.
Well, I mean, I think just first thing is not only was, if you look at QBR and things like that, I think it was like the second worst QB rating since 2006 by a quarterback making
it was a 1.0 on a scale of 0 to 100.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't even need to look at QBR. You can just look at his his stat line, which was obviously atrocious. But looking past that, you know what my opinion was on Johnny Manziel before this start, and kind of how I thought he was going to be as an NFL quarterback. And obviously, yeah, it is one start, but he was awful. And I think that what's more telling about it is everything that happens with him off the field, that's been well documented. But I think you can get away with a lot of that stuff if you can, kind of back it up on the field and kind of do your thing on the field. And he was just bad. And so when you're going to look like that, and again, I do understand it's his first start, but to go out and look at that kind of unprepared and, kind of that young, even though he is young, but to look that way, kind of just makes a lot of that stuff that goes on off the field unacceptable.
Well, he certainly looked overwhelmed, but I don't know. I think this was just a no-win situation for him, playing against a division rival who Cleveland spanked a month ago. It was 24-3 in Cincinnati. This Bengals team has been they gave up 42 to Pittsburgh last week, but other than that, they had given up less than 13 in their past 5 games, or 4 of their last 5 games, I should say. But I mean, it was personal out there for a lot of those Bengals guys. The first time he gets sacked, there's the money sign. All those guys were doing the money sign.
Yeah,
and there was. I know. My opinion hasn't changed on him even after that terrible performance, but I just think that was a really tough spot for him to be in.
Can you blame the rest of the league for kind of wanting to do the things that they do if he's going to struggle? Because he's the kind of kid who has shown that he certainly will do what he does regardless of what people think. And so of course if he's going to struggle, I'm not surprised. And to be honest, I'm kind of for the rest of the league kind of, for lack of a better term, making fun of him for it. Because he kind of, in my mind, he kind of set himself up. It's not like we're talking about a very humble, football player here. We're talking about Johnny Manziel, a guy who puts a lot of this on himself. So I think that's kind of what gets me more than anything else.
Well, I would say no, I don't blame them at all. And you knew it was coming. I mean, Patine said it during the week. He said the first time he gets sacked, they're going to get a taunting penalty, and they did. Or I guess that was a batted down ball, whatever. They still got a taunting penalty. But for Manziel, I would rather have him play cocky and rather have him play with an edge than try and play, really humble, because that's like his edge. That's what he's good at. That's why he won the Heisman, is because he, does all this cowboy stuff in the pocket, gets away, makes these incredible plays, and he believes in himself. I think as soon as he starts not believing in himself, maybe arrogantly so, that's when he'll struggle. And I think he did doubt himself this game because there was throws he could have made and didn't. And his first interception, that guy is open. Like, that needs to be a 30-yard gain.
Yeah.
He hesitated. He floated out there, and Dre Kirkpatrick picked it. So.
Well, I just, one thing that you're definitely right about is the fact that the way that he'll succeed at this level, if he can, is, using that stuff that he did in college to an extent. Like, sort of, because it is the NFL, so it has to, in my mind, it has to be a little bit more controlled version of what he did in college, but at the same time, still kind of let him loose. So yeah, he could find success like that. And that is something that, it doesn't matter whether you liked him or didn't like him off the field in college. You had to respect his game. I mean, and I definitely did. He was able to make plays with his feet. He could, he was very creative, obviously, with some of the things he would do to get out of trouble and make some big plays happen. But again, it's the NFL, and a lot of that stuff. This is no surprise when it goes from college to the NFL level. A lot of that stuff changes. Guys are bigger, guys are faster, guys are stronger, guys are smarter. And so, if he doesn't elevate his game to that level, again, and the biggest thing to say is it's his first start. So obviously, a lot of this can change. But after that first start, there were a lot of things that kind of made me feel like, oh, he's either not, he's either maybe not ready for this level, or he's got a really, really long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to look at it that it is his first start, and if he doesn't improve, well, he doesn't improve. But you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt in the fact this is his first real NFL action, and the fact that he's not really playing in the best circumstances. But also, there's a lot of things he has to correct quickly, and that's through a lot of times behind the receivers. And I mean, you can't correct height, but it doesn't help either that he's just very tiny. I don't know. I feel like in my house we made a rule: you can't be 6 feet as a quarterback because we're too used to Rex Grossman. You got to be up, and taller than that. Even though I dream of being 6 feet, but I would never be able to play quarterback.
Right? There was someone I was watching over the weekend in Teddy Bridgewater over with the Vikings, and he's an example of someone that he was very impressive in college, and I didn't really know how his game was gonna kind of translate to the NFL, but he's kind of had the advantage of having some experience, with some injuries that the Vikings had. He's kind of been stressed in that starting position, and actually, even though there's still a lot of knocks on Bridgewater's game, one thing that he has had is a relative, compared to Johnny Manziel, a good amount of experience, and so just in his first season to kind of jump into that starting role. And, he's actually been doing some things that have impressed me that just show, okay, maybe he's got a future in the NFL as a starting quarterback. So, and that's kind of in Johnny Manziel's defense. Johnny Manziel hasn't had a bunch of starts. He just was kind of thrown into the position in a situation in Cleveland that was, less than ideal. Obviously, they wanted Hoyer to be the guy this year, and, things weren't working out. So you go and you give Manziel that, the nod, and he didn't show up this week, but again, I could be wrong, and he could eventually do all those amazing things that he did in college at the NFL level.
Sam, I want to go back to something you said a couple minutes ago about how his skills transfer from college to the NFL. We're going to have a little quiz time here for you. All right. So who was Johnny Manziel's coach in college?
I forget his name.
Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
He was at Houston, then he went to A&M. Who was Manziel's offensive
he didn't
coordinator?
Want to go to Illinois.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Who was Manziel's offensive coordinator?
I don't know.
Cliff Kingsbury. Both of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right. They ran the air raid at Texas A&M. So why in the hell does Kyle Shanahan think that Johnny Manziel knows the read option? Because I saw.
Well, no, that's a good point. I don't know.
He never ran it in college, and they ran it multiple times yesterday, and there was the one that, the pictures all over the internet of he opens the wrong way and the running back's not there. But
yeah,
it's just like you assume he's a running quarterback, so you think he knows it, and I just had a huge problem with that yesterday.
No, it's a really good point, and that's something that, that we hadn't really mentioned yet is that, of course, ideally that's something that Manziel could do, but like you said, that's not something that he did in college. And that wasn't like a part of his game. So in that way, yeah, that was sort of a way that they threw him out there with a lot of inexperience. Even the plays he was running, he hadn't done before. And so there is something to be said about the fact that the reason maybe we didn't see Johnny Manziel from his college days is because they weren't letting him play like that. Those weren't the plays that they were calling, because obviously he's not calling these plays, especially, this early in his career. He's going to be kind of going by what they're telling him to do. So I guess in that way there was kind of that disadvantage. But yeah, I didn't really thought about that. That's a good point.
Well, and he's learning just to play quarterback. I mean, I don't know if you knew this at all, but at A&M, he never ran protections. So this is the first time in his in his quarterbacking career he's had to set the protection for the offensive line. So, when they were great at A&M, when he was great, is when they went up-tempo and he got into a rhythm. Well, yesterday they had so many 3-and-outs, they couldn't do it. There was a couple delay of games. The play clock is under 5. I mean, I think it just everything at once kind of added into that overwhelmed look that we all saw.
Yeah, and I think, there's also the pressure, and I think there's all that, but it also goes along kind of with what I was saying earlier, with just sort of this pressure that I think he kind of put on himself, additional to what other, first-year guys in the NFL do, because of all the off-the-field stuff. And if you're going to, kind of set yourself up in this way and be, very, cocky and all this kind of stuff, and you go out on the field, it doesn't matter if it's your first, it doesn't matter what offense they're running or how much inexperience you have doing that, or, whether it's your first start or not, that's not a good look. And I think that's my biggest issue is, like, it's okay if a guy's not humble. I mean, some guys just, that's how they play, and they kind of play with that chip on their shoulder. They play with, for whatever reason, like that. That's fine. But generally you want to, make a good first impression. And certainly that's something that he did not do.
Well, so your biggest problem with him is the off-the-field stuff?
No, well,
sure.
I mean, because what were you going to say? What was that?
Before, yesterday, but, I mean, obviously there's, flaws to point out from playing, but before...
Yeah. Yes, if he went out yesterday and had a great game, then, yeah, it would still be the off-the-field stuff. Because, I enjoyed watching Johnny Manziel in college. I really did. He was fun to watch. But then every week there was something new about just kind of me questioning. And, for the most part, unless I'm forgetting something, none of this stuff was, terrible. It was just kind of a lot of dumb stuff he was doing. So, that's, I guess, that's not necessarily positive, but obviously could be worse. But with that being said, it's just, I think that when you have a guy that's as talented as he is, at a certain point, I just kind of question why he feels the need to sort of do some of those things that he's done off the field when you have such a great talent, because he was very talented in college. So I guess that would be my biggest issue, because ideally you've got a guy who's got it all there, upstairs, and then also in his skill set. And I think Manziel certainly has the skills to be an NFL quarterback. I just kind of question if that'll all come together, with decision making and things like that.
Yeah, because the off the field stuff really doesn't seem that bad to me either. I feel like it's the same thing. If he did this 30 years ago, no one knows about it. It's normal college kid stuff.
Sure.
If you're Jameis Winston stealing crab legs and have allegations of the wazoo, then yeah, that's an issue of rape. Yeah, that's an issue. The Johnny Manziel stuff seems, if it's an ass, sure, I guess, but I think you can get past that if you can play football, and I think we're going to have to see that quickly here, because the Browns kind of have a big decision to make.
You're totally right. If he can back it up, then there's not much I can say, because again, none of the stuff he's done has been that bad. But if he can't, then you know what, he looks bad. That's him looking like kind of just like an immature kid who's not ready for the NFL. And I acknowledge I could be wrong, and he's still so young, still has a lot of time to grow, and I think I heard that he'll get the start again this weekend. So I wouldn't think that they'd unless he got hurt. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he'd go out there again. And so we'll see what he can do, and kind of with a little bit being better acclimated to the kind of the speed of the game, maybe, and just live kind of football action. So at that level.
It's kind of interesting because, go for it.
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, the course of his NFL career, though, can kind of spiral in really one way or the other this last few weeks here. He's got a big opportunity to take a spot that Hoyer had pretty well for a good portion of the season, had them in contention.
Well, Hoyer's contract's up.
Right, and his contract's up too.
This is
so
like a 3-game audition
Yeah.
for Manziel.
Yeah, and he just, he really has to, for me, if I'm the coaching staff, I just want to see flashes. I think last week showed it's pretty clear he's not going to come out there or go out there and, take over any games, have any like Texas A&M like games that he would have.
Yeah.
But I don't think he needs to. That's not what I think they're expecting to see. But really just to show some flashes, show that you belong, and I think that's all that they're going to really need to see to kind of have that faith in him going forward.
Yeah, I think it's the improvement is what you look for. And I think you will see it because, a lot of things, he still showed that, for a lot of the times he was able to get out of the pocket and move around and stuff like that. But, it's just what he can't do is his second pick, just throw it up for grabs. He doesn't have Mike Evans on the team anymore, who's turned out as a freak of nature. So.
Then that's one of those things where you wonder. I'm not taking that much credit away from Johnny Manziel in college, but he did have Mike Evans, and now we're seeing Mike Evans at the NFL level, and he's been about as good as you can. He's making about as good of a first impression as you can make as a rookie in any position. So I think he certainly helped. It helped him having that elite playmaker like Evans when he was down in Texas.
Sam, thank you for jumping on. It's already 7:00, so we got to kick you off.
Oh yeah. Well, if I were there, I'd obviously try and be continuing the show on, but I am not. So you could always just hang up on me.
Well, we found a dump button on the board, and no one knows what it does. It's supposed to obviously kick you off the air, but I don't know if it actually works.
Well, it should. My guess it would cut off the last 7 seconds
right.
or so.
But I'm afraid if we click it, the whole station will shut down. Just knowing how this place is wired. Yep.
Everything just blows up. Yeah.
And which just opened downstairs, so we just be screwing them over.
Which opened?
See what you're missing?
Here
Which
right
opened?
I'll be there in 20 minutes. No, because I've been waiting for that to open. It didn't seem like it was ever going to open, but she's out there. That should be a sponsor of the show.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Allegedly.
Maybe.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for jumping on, Sam. That's Sam Sherman. Normally sits next to me here in studio. Went home, so we get to call him and bug him on his couch. So I think that's going to do it here. 7:01. Decent.
We've been worse.
We've been worse. Our thanks to Jamal Collier jumping on MLB.com. Talk some winter meet. Isn't that so weird to say?
Yeah, I know. He needs to put in a good word for me.
That's great. Jamal Collier, MLB.com. Sam Sherman, his couch. What else? UPTV will be re-aired Wednesday. So if you thought you were losing me today, you get to re-lose me on Wednesday, if that's a thing.
Relive the emotional roller coaster of the whole show. Yeah.
Waterworks going everywhere. The first UPTV one we did this year, or the second, Torrance played a drop and they spun my head around as a graphic, so maybe we can play with that again.
Just like a little violin.
Yeah, they're the world's smallest violin on your finger, so we'll see. So that's going to wrap it up here. As a reminder, we still don't have the official date, but we're off the air now. We're going to be off for a few weeks. Come back in and around the 3rd week of January. You'll hear promos and updates from WPGU as well, and that as well as our Twitter, at Illini Drive, at DI_sports, at the Daily Illini. All those you can find information both on Illinois sports over this break here where we're off, as well as when we will be coming on the air. And as a reminder, I will not be back next half. It'll be Jeff, Steve, Torrance, and Sam. I almost forgot him. He's not even here.
I was going to say, you were having a little trouble there. You're giving me a look.
Yeah.
Wait, who am I missing?
And then a whole host of guests and crazies along the way that will keep the show alive, and then I'll be back in August. So for the final time this half before the new year, thank you for tuning in, and you're listening to Champagne's Alternative, WPGU 107.1. This is Illini Drive.